It was a case that stunned the courtroom into silence. Even the most seasoned jurors looked away. But what made this murder case truly unforgettable wasn't just the brutality of the crime. It was what happened after. When the judge, a man who had spent decades on the bench witnessing horror after horror, felt tears rolling down his face. He wasn't just delivering a sentence, he was breaking down in front of the world. Today, we unravel one of the most disturbing crimes in modern history. A story so raw, so gut-wrenching, it shook the entire justice system to its core. On the surface, the Holloways were the picture of perfection. A white picket fence, a golden retriever named Max, 2 beautiful children, and proud parents Thomas and Marianne. They lived in a quiet Illinois suburb, where neighbors knew each other by name. Nothing bad ever happened here, until everything fell apart. Thomas Holloway was a well-paid logistics manager, respected in his church and often seen mowing his lawn or volunteering for Neighborhood Watch. Marianne was a homemaker, active in the PTA, with a love for baking and gardening. Their kids, 10-year-old Emily and 7-year-old Jonah, were popular and well-behaved. But the smiles in the photos masked years of growing torment. Extended interviews with friends and neighbors. She was always the one to offer cookies at the bake sale. But behind closed doors, Thomas Holloway was a man boiling with rage. And no one knew how close he was to snapping. What many fail to recognize is that abuse doesn't always start with fists. It often begins with control. Little things. Where are you going? Who are you texting? Why did you wear that? Marianne kept a secret journal, hidden behind canned goods in the pantry. She wrote about late-night fights, bruises explained away as clumsiness, and how Thomas's eyes would go dark, vacant, when he got angry. The journal entries document how he isolated her, berated her, gaslit her, and worse, how she began believing it was her fault. Dr. Lena Howard, clinical psychologist. Marianne's entries are textbook. Classic signs of psychological abuse escalating toward violence. Emily, now a budding artist, began drawing troubling images, shadowy figures towering over smaller ones. One teacher later reported that her drawings were a cry for help no one understood in time. The days leading up to the murder are chilling in retrospect. Thomas began acting erratically. Surveillance footage shows him purchasing a large kitchen knife, duct tape, and sleeping pills. He told co-workers he was prepping for something big. Emily says he began locking the bedroom doors at night. And Jonah told his teacher, "Daddy yells a lot more now." Marianne reached out to an old college friend on Facebook. The message read, "If anything happens to me, please take care of Emily and Jonah." The friend, living out of state, didn't see the message until days later. On October 18, 2022, Marianne wrote her final entry. "I feel like something is coming. I hope I'm wrong." At 10:43 p.m., a panicked 911 call came in. Emily, barely able to speak, begged for help. 911 call playback, "He's killing her. Please, please, there's so much blood." When police arrived, the scene was pure horror. Marianne had been stabbed 46 times. The pattern of wounds suggested blind, feral rage. Thomas sat in the kitchen, blooded and humming the same lullaby Marianne used to sing to their children. The paramedics found Emily holding her brother in a hallway closet. She had kept him quiet during the entire attack. Later, detectives uncovered a disturbing Google search on Thomas's laptop. Fastest way to silence someone without alerting neighbors. The news broke hearts. Evergreen Hills was no longer safe. People locked their doors. Mothers held their children tighter. Marianne's funeral was attended by over 800 people. Her casket was covered in white lilies, her favorite. Local churches held trauma counseling sessions. Teachers received new training in recognizing signs of abuse in children. The town passed what they now call the Marianne Law, a mandatory 3-day wellness check for any household with a domestic disturbance call. Thomas Holloway's trial became national news. The prosecution called it calculated domestic terrorism. The defense pleaded mental break. Emily, brave beyond her years, testified via closed-circuit camera. Her voice was soft, but her words strong. Emily recorded testimony. "I saw his eyes. He wasn't confused. He knew what he was doing." Photos of the crime scene brought gasps from the courtroom. But what no one expected was what happened next. Judge Harold Atkinson, a 25-year veteran, removed his glasses, wiped his eyes, and openly wept. Judge statement: "This court has seen evil. But this was something else." Court psychologists described Thomas as narcissistic with violent paranoia. His refusal to speak, even under cross-examination, added an eerie silence to the trial. Thomas was sentenced to life without parole. His silence since the murder has only deepened the mystery of his unraveling mind. Marianne's journal became a bestseller. Donations poured into women's shelters. Survivors began speaking out. Advocate quote, "Because Marianne spoke on those pages, thousands of women found the strength to do the same." Illinois added 2 new bills to the state assembly, aimed at domestic violence prevention. They were dubbed the Marianne Acts. Emily is now 23, studying criminal psychology and advocating for children of domestic violence. She runs a blog called Behind the Door, sharing stories of children like her. Jonah, now 20, still attends therapy but has begun speaking about his experience in closed support groups. He recently completed a painting titled Silent Room that has been displayed in survivor exhibits. They live with their aunt in Oregon. Quiet life. Safe. The judge, retired, still sends Emily a Christmas card every year. This was not just a brutal crime. It was a cry from behind the curtains of suburbia. A cry that, finally, the world listened to. If you or someone you know is suffering, speak up. There is help. You are not alone. Subscribe to True Crime Hub for more stories that need to be heard. Share this video. You could save a life.